Right, we're live. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. We had a bit of a hiccup. So, how are you doing?
You cut out again.
That's how you were.
It's got to be my computer because it's a Mac and it's old.
Okay. So why don't you tell me about yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Cecilia Price, and I am a painter in Western New York. I was in Cleveland for a few years going to school. I do mostly oil paintings, a lot of Gothic stuff, nude figures, things like that.
Do you do so professionally at all, or do you do it kind of on the side?
It is my main goal to be a full-time professional artist and make a living off of it. I have not gotten quite that far yet. Unfortunately, not a lot of people these days appreciate art for what it is. And I think with the amount of digital art, especially, I think people, they can get stuff quicker than going to an oil painter. So if you need album artwork, it's, a little bit quicker to go to somebody who can do it on the computer as opposed to an oil painting that might take a month or a few months.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what makes you stick with oil painting instead of moving to something that might be considered?
Um, well, I mean, as you can see, I'm just trying to figure out Discord. I'm not a technological person. I've owned, I think, 2 different tablets now, and I had such a hard time trying to figure out like how to paint with them. It's just not intuitive for me. I like paint. It's more fluid. I don't know. It's what has worked well for me in the past and continues to work well. I do try to experiment with different things. I've downloaded Procreate. I've played with it, but it's definitely I can't create the same kind of detail and everything that I can in an oil painting as I have on like Procreate.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's a kind of a if it ain't broke kind of situation, it seems like.
Yeah.
So when you say you do Gothic painting, is it primarily well, describe that for me because I don't know if I entirely so I have a picture in my head. So so why don't you tell me about
Um, well, I do a lot of they're called vanitas, and they're basically about mortality, and usually they include skulls as a symbol to remind you that life is short. Um, so I've done quite a few different skulls in my artwork, from Waiting for the Night, which includes a nude male sitting on a bed with a skull next to him. I have done a copy after Masaccio's. Underneath his Holy Trinity, they discovered that there was a vanita below that had been painted over or what have you. And so there's like a skeleton laying there, and it says, what I am now, you will become, something like that. So I recreated that. And so I do a lot of like skulls, and I've painted cemeteries and things like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like horror things and that's kind of I feel like that's in a similar wheelhouse. So that's really cool. What got you into that art style?
I'm not sure it was anything specific. I mean, when I was in school, like even probably started in middle school, I was more Gothic, and a lot of people think that's a phase, but for some people, you never grow out of it.
All the goth kid says it's not just a phase, mom, but for you that was actually true, which I like.
Yeah. I found Brahm at some point, and for anyone who doesn't know who he is, he has done a lot of artwork for Magic the Gathering cards, and he's got a few books out now with his artwork in it, including like a story I think he wrote along with his art. But So I've seen a lot of his work. Also, like Boris Viejo and Julie Bell. I'm trying to see Rio, I think is his name. As far as like older artists, but Brown was mostly it when I was younger, like high school ish.
Yeah, so I know the Gothic style is probably a little bit more niche because of its dark subject matters and darker imagery that's trying to convey. So, how does your family feel about it? Because I know with a lot of people that create darker art, whether it be visual, like your medium, or
Mhm.
in storytelling, they're like, "Why waste your talents creating this shit when you could be making like sunshine and flower stuff?"
Yeah, puppy dogs and rainbows.
Mhm.
Well, interestingly enough, I would say probably they're more supportive of the weird gothic stuff that I do than the other stuff. Like my aunt actually has purchased two of my cemetery pieces, one of which is the cemetery where actually my mom was buried at. And I would say, though, more so the nudes is what bothers my family. Like, I've done a lot of self portrait nudes, and one of the things my brother said is as soon as I stop painting nudes, he'll come to one of my shows. But he's never ever been to any of my shows, so that's some bullshit.
So you've actually had shows. So is that like at a local museum or like at a town hall or maybe something like an art and garden fair? What is that like?
Um, Unfortunately, none in Lockport really. I mean, there used to be the Market Street Art Center, so I've exhibited there. I've most recently exhibited at a place called Hall Walls in Buffalo, which is a gallery. And then when I was in Cleveland, I exhibited in quite a few negative space gallery. Um, I'm drawing blanks. I average about excuse me, before the pandemic, I averaged about 13 different art shows a year, which generally would be in a gallery or occasionally like a cafe. Like I used to be a curator at the Cassia Cafe in Fredonia.
That's pretty cool. Do you have to pay the venues or are they kind of just like, yeah, man, just come on in and show your work?
It really depends on the venue. For the most part, and a lot of people don't understand this about artists, is that you do have to pay to enter, just to enter a show, which doesn't guarantee that you got in the show. And I have, like, because I do taxes, I have a DBA for my art, and I spend probably about $400 a year trying to get into shows.
Wow.
So
Do you ever charge admission for your shows? So do you ever make some of that money back or is it just completely free?
they're pretty much all completely free. I think outside of like maybe in New York City, there might be places where people get charged to go in. That's not at all how it works. People usually get to go in for free, and then the gallery makes their money by charging a commission. If they don't charge you to enter the show, which usually if it's a group show, you pay to get in, but if it's like a solo show, um, or even if it is a group show, once you're in and you've already paid money, the gallery takes a commission out of what you are charging, which is why a lot of times artwork tends to be higher in a gallery because that artist has to pay the gallery a fee.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense. So when you say you do nude figures, do you use models?
Sometimes, yes. I'm still a member of the Murray Hill Art Group in Cleveland, and we have been doing Zoom modeling sessions. I have a friend, Jeremy, who is curator of the Faux Pas Gallery in Rochelle, Illinois, that I've used for quite a few of my pieces. Waiting for the Night to Fall is actually, uh, he's the model for that. So I've had quite a few models. Sometimes it's random calls, like when I was looking for certain male body parts, I put out a general call.
Mhm.
but stuck it with my friends because if I tried to put anything like that on Craigslist, holy crap, would that go wrong?
Yeah. So, do you do exclusively male nudes, or do you do female as well?
No, I have, I would say, way more female nudes. I like to do the male more because I feel like drawing or painting, especially skinny white models, is everybody can do that. It's everywhere. That market is saturated for the most part. But trying to find like male nudes, I think is a little bit more of a niche in a sense.
Yeah. Was there like a level of awkwardness you had to get over with your models, or were you kind of just like purely in the artistic mode and kind of were able to ignore that?
Um, I mean, for the most part, it hasn't been that awkward because usually they just send me a image and I don't like work with them in person. Um, I think there's only been one maybe that I actually photographed in person as far as like the male nude series went. Jeremy gets professional pictures taken, so he just sends me what he has, and I've only hired on my own a few, not even that, like probably one or two models, because I rarely have a studio space where I can actually have somebody. But for the most part, I mean, I've been painting nude figures since I was in when I got my associates, so it's been probably 8 to 10 years now. So to me, it's more natural than anything.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, we already touched on what kind of inspired you a little bit, but I kind of want to dig back into that. So, when it comes to like the more old school painters, is there anyone you take inspiration from, or is it more just the newer Gothic people?
Um, are you saying like old school, like Renaissance artists, like Leonardo da Vinci?
Yeah, Renaissance or more classical. I'm probably showing my my lack of knowledge when it comes to periods of art, but like yeah, Da Vinci or maybe like Van Gogh or Picasso or Caravaggio. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And I'm again showing my artistic literature.
Well, Caravaggio is a good choice. I do like Caravaggio, and I got to see his work in person when I went to Italy. Um, I do love Leonardo da Vinci because I also have a fascination for like morbid anatomy and anatomical drawings. So I used to
And,
have a big book of his work, but I think in my moving so much that has been left behind somewhere.
and I know that Caravaggio. Pretty sure this is Caravaggio. Doesn't he have a piece that's the decapitated head of Medusa?
Uh, yes, he does have Medusa. He also has Judas slaying Holofernes, which was also done by Atrisma Janaleski, who is a little known female artist. Well, she's more well known now. She came in, she was in Caravaggio's time, but he passed away before I think she went into her prime. And a little known thing for anyone who's not in the art world is a lot of her work was attributed to male painters because nobody thought a woman could paint that well in her era. And she also ended up being raped by her one master, and it's just a whole crazy story.
Oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah, so and at that time, it's kind of like you're forced to because as a woman, you're considered, um, kind of property, so you're damaged goods, quote unquote, at that point. And it's just if you're interested in stuff like that, it's kind of fascinating to read about that. But
And
so
uh, we like to say that we've come so far, but we still live in a very patriarchal society. So, have
for sure.
you, as a female artist, have you experienced any discrimination because of your gender with your art, or any
Uh,
sort of hostility?
for sure. Um,
And before we go further, if anything gets too sensitive for you, you can say so, and we'll to make this uncomfortable for you. So if you don't feel comfortable talking about anything like this, we can just move on.
Oh no, I'm pretty verbal about stuff like this at this point. I mean, there's a general, um, what do you call it? I just feel like there is an artist in Cleveland who I want to say, okay, so she has a name that when you shorten it could go generally male or female, but most of the time you would assume it's a male. And so she leaves it shortened because then you assume you're going to talk to a male. She's more likely to get into a show, etc. So that's how things are these days. And I realize that's not technically a personal example, but
No,
um,
that's still valid and important to talk about and bring up.
yeah, I would say I don't really have too many directly from like gallery shows, other than to say I feel like personally, if I submitted like the basically the exact same thing as another artist with a male name, that other artist would be more likely to get um, selected. I obviously don't have any proof of that, but the worst thing for in my career as far as being a female, and not just a female, but a brown female, was actually going to school at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland. That was absolutely the worst decision of my life.
Uh, do you want to go into that a little bit more and just explain why?
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I actually wrote an 8-page paper after I left there because I was so pissed off. The head of the department was an older white guy. Surprisingly, said he did not vote for Trump, but the way he acted in classroom, it was like, he referred to students as being sexy. We had a student that identified and gender pronouns were she and her, but my instructor refused to use that at all. Um, and he shamed an Asian student for not being fashion savvy, and supposedly he used to be a fashion photographer, which is some bullshit. Um, I really think the guy is like maybe early Alzheimer's at this point. But anyway, I went through a lot of stuff at that school, and I brought up a lot of the issues I had, both as a teaching assistant and as a student, not being treated fairly. I had, there was a quiz that I did along with, there was technically only one other student in my graduating class, which is hard to think about, but so she was a white female student, and there was like a quiz that he threw out because she bombed it and I did well on it. And so it was just 2 years of dealing with that kind of shit.
Uh, Geez, that's terrible. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I know that's very inadequate to your experience, but that's really terrible. I wish it didn't have to be like that, but at least you survived it, and
Mhm.
hopefully, maybe you're a little stronger for it.
I like to think so.
Is that do experiences like that fuel your art? Because so often art does come from pain and anger. Does that kind of fuel your creative juices, or not really?
Well, there was a while there where I didn't do anything, and really the pandemic hasn't helped for shit. But
Mhm.
yes, because despite the kind of work that I normally do, I do actually have a painting of the Judith and Holophon Aries next to me that I'm doing that involves Trump. Um, but also, I have a painting that I started of that instructor actually, and it is, if you could think about the old school like racist black-faced like posters. Basically, I took one of those and I created him in that as like somebody wearing blackface, because I feel like that is kind of one of the things he did, was he tries to talk about African masks and stuff like that as like more of a cultural appropriation thing, and less as a, I would say, less of appreciation,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. But yeah,
So
good for you being able to turn in turn your negative experiences into something cathartic and more productive, and hopefully people that view that can connect with that.
well, thank you. Yeah.
I'm obviously not an artist, but as far as visual, but I'm a writer, and I try to do the same thing, kind of turn my own shit into something that I can connect with people with what I create. So I think that's the power of all art, not just or
Mhm.
anything. And I think that's really cool that you've done that for yourself and hopefully for other people as well.
No, thank you. I'm envious of writers. I wish I could write, because then I could do comic books.
Well, I wish I could make art, so maybe if we find a genie or something, we can trade for a day. How about that?
That would be sweet. I'm down.
You mentioned COVID and how it affected your art. Uh, do you want to touch on that a little bit more? Did it change the way you made art? Did it make it harder to create art with the all the mental strain, mental stress that it puts on people? Or did it give you more
Um,
time?
well, a lot of people would think it gave me more time, but well, the problem is I've also moved quite a few times since it started. So I moved the first time I think in March of last year. So a year ago, I moved to Falconer, New York, and then in I think September, October, I ended up moving here to Lockport. And so every time I move, that's more paintings that get messed up in the move. That's stuff I have to leave behind. And it's just stress from trying to pack and do all that crap anyway. Um, but I mean, a lot of it has been, I mean, just a lack of motivation because I don't really lack ideas. There's all kinds of random stuff I want to create, could create. Especially if I had unlimited money, I would be doing all kinds of shit. Um,
Yeah, I think that applies to all artists
mhm.
because if we had unlimited money, we wouldn't have to go to work and we could sit around and make art all day. Or maybe that's what we would tell ourselves, and we would just watch yet another Netflix series, which is definitely a boat I've found myself in when I should be doing something productive.
Mhm.
Do you find yourself in the Netflix hole, as it were, when you feel like you should be creating?
I think the worst thing for me usually is Instagram or Facebook. I'm fairly good about putting on something on Netflix or Hulu and working still. Like I will watch like some serial killer shit and paint.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, there is a bit of a thematic similarity there too. So between if you're painting things that are symbolic of death and somebody who made death happen,
mhm.
there's a bit of a parallel. So I guess I'm not like that at all. I can't work with a TV in the room, even if I have headphones in and I'm listening to music. I just find it too distracting because there's like something else going on. So I
Mhm.
can't. My brain just personally doesn't work that way. I think I'm probably just like a little bit too easily distracted. So social media
Yeah.
can be draining on on and on a person. I recently gave up on Facebook beginning of the year. I saw what some I've been seeing this since the beginning of the pandemic, but I saw one person say that COVID was just the flu, and was like, "Fuck it, I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore." I deleted my Facebook app. I didn't delete my profile because my Spotify's connected, but as soon as I get that shit sorted out, Facebook's gone. I'm taking a break from Twitter. It drains on you.
Yeah, I've considered doing that for so many years. And like, I think the biggest thing that stops me though is One, there's just some people that for whatever reason insist on only contacting me through Facebook, and I'm like, I have a phone. You can just call me. I don't want to deal with sitting at my computer stuck here typing out shit to you when I need to be, over on the other side of the room painting.
Yeah.
And then is I don't know if I get rid of my Facebook, like my personal page, will my business page then will that go away too? Not that I get tons and tons of hits through that, but I still like having it there.
Yeah, it's still a platform you can use. That yeah, that totally makes sense. Maybe you can find a way to have social media inspire your creation instead of limiting it. I don't know what that would look like, but it's something that I might think about. And I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your art,
Mhm.
because I know that's a pet peeve of mine. But it's something that if I were in your shoes, it's something that I would try to do personally.
Well, it does inspire me in the fact that especially with Instagram, although sometimes it sucks now because there's so many more people posting food and pictures of their babies and stuff than there used to be. It used to be all more specifically art and photography. But I will save stuff on Instagram and go through and look at it later and then sketch in my sketchbook from what I see there. As far as, I don't know if you also mean adapting, because that's one of the things I'm trying to do is work on Twitch and YouTube and do these live, I tried Facebook Live, but I couldn't even using Restream and I couldn't see the chat, so I couldn't even talk to people. Um, but then again, that goes back to I am not technologically.
Yeah, it's okay because I've had my own struggles with Twitch. Very occasionally, when I'm playing a computer game with my friends, I'll stream it, and I've had to
Mhm.
have the chat up on my phone because I couldn't figure out to um, how to make the chat show up. So I'm right there with you. It's not really easy to use. So they don't exactly make it easy all the time. So that's completely.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
'Cause I
you don't have to. I mean, you could probably find some tutorials out there because there's tutorials and videos for literally everything now.
see, I've tried, and I understand that. I know that that's a thing. The problem is half the time when you find a tutorial, they're using an old version of it, or there's been an update, etc. So the video doesn't even look like the same fucking thing that you're looking at now.
Yeah, I've
So
had
they'll
to.
be like, "Oh, go here and touch that." Well, there's nothing there. Damn it.
Yeah, I've had that experience as well. If everything could just stay the same and not change at all, that would be great. But then
I,
again, maybe things do need to change sometimes so they can get better. So you kind of
yes.
lose either way. So do you have a fear of being left behind because you're struggling to adapt to an increasingly technological world?
100%.
Mhm.
Because I'm on the cusp. I am between the older artists who are already established. They don't have to worry about going out of their way to promote themselves online because they've already got set collectors. They've made a name for themselves, etc. And then you have all these young people that are banging out stuff constantly on their computers and their phones and all kinds of shit, and then they're able to make all these quick videos and stuff like that, and I'm still like, what the hell is the difference between a reel and a story on Instagram? I don't understand. But then I watch this thing that tells me that if you want to be popular on Instagram, you have to be doing reels and you have to do this and you have to post every day, and I have a whole planner full of this is what I have to be doing, and I just don't understand how anyone can keep up with all this shit.
Yeah, that's definitely understandable. It's overwhelming for even me too, who's in the generation that's supposed to understand all this. I'm quote unquote one of the kids, but um, it still can be a little overwhelming, and I, uh, I definitely feel like the fear of, uh, like, never truly getting established because everyone else seems leagues ahead of me, and, like, what if I
Mhm.
get left behind? What if by the time what I'm working on gets out there, what I'm trying to say isn't relevant anymore because the speed of the internet and therefore the speed of our world is moving at a million miles an hour and it's hard to keep up. It's definitely scary, but you're definitely not in that.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's a constant struggle.
Hey, look at it this way,
Um,
like in like 100 years or so, there people are way more likely to remember and find physical things than they are digital because ev- if uh, there's a ton of stuff out there right now, this very second, in like a century, there's going to be a whole lot more. It's going to be even more oversaturated, and the whole
yeah,
landscape is going to be even noisier. So maybe in the end, you will be the one who's creating something that's relevant and that sticks around.
that's true. I just wish people would buy it now so they could support me while I'm alive. Because in 100 years, it ain't gonna do me any damn good. But I mean, like that is how you leave your legacy. So I think that there is something to be said about that.
Yeah, you can't really put an Instagram post. I mean, I guess you technically could if you put a shot or whatever, but that's too much work. You could just go buy a painting and put it on your wall, and
Mhm.
it's there. And it's less tacky than an Instagram screenshot too. So I think uh, there's some relevance there. Ha- Have you sold art for the purpose of like people like putting up in their house? And if so, like, how does it, I know you said you've uh, had art shows, but have people said, "Oh, I'm going to put this up in my living room"? So how does how does that feel to know that?
It's pretty awesome. Uh, like especially like I had my artwork in a mausoleum actually out in Los Angeles, and I sold one of the pieces when I was there. And it was very surreal because, it was like a 400 and something dollar piece. And this person that purchased it, like, they were like, oh, well, let me see how much cash I have on me. And they actually had the money to buy it right there. And I'm like, that is just unbelievable. And then to think about, the fact that my work, which for the most part has pretty much all been right here in Western New York. So I know I at least have one piece in California, in somebody's house. And I had someone buy a self portrait of me that they put in their living room because it goes with other artwork that they have. Like it's a similar color palette. And I've done some, commissions for people that, like a portrait of a couple. And I know they have that in their living room. I had a salon. Trying to think. I think she's located. Oh, I don't remember. It's not Texas, but it's quite a drive from here. And so I know I have some artwork in a salon. My cousin's nail business has a couple of my pieces. Um, what is it called? Why can't I think of the name of it? Um, Time to Glow Nail Bar. So she's got one of my paintings that I did that she and her sister are fighting over purchasing. I don't care who purchases it, just give me the money and you can keep it. Um, and then I also did like a piece for part of her business, which is like things that she does for women. I don't really know how else to put that, but feminine stuff that she does. So I mean, I've done a little bit of commissions and just randomly having people buy stuff to put in their wall, which is, I mean, that's so cool. But commissions are also, a big part of it because then they're like, I like what you do so much that I want you to do something, specific. Like I'm working on a logo for a friend, so
Yeah, so you do sell those pieces. Does it go right back into your like buying new supplies? Or does that go into your pocket or maybe to your rents or groceries or whatever?
it really depends on where I am at the time and how things are going. Right now, since I am not paying rent where I'm at, it can go back into um, basically to help me pay for shows. And, if I have a show that's not here, I've got to pay to ship it. And that was the worst thing about doing the show in Los Angeles was paying to ship my work out there and back. That was $800 gone.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, lots of supplies because artists, for the most part, have consumable supplies, unless maybe you're a photographer. But um, yeah, it's just you constantly are using stuff up.
Yeah,
And
so would you say
uh,
that it's a it's an expensive expensive
um,
gig to be in?
it can be. I mean, you know, you could get away with doing stuff, I mean, cheaply, but
I
I
try
mean,
not to
it's
use the word sorry.
go ahead.
I said I was trying not to use the word hobby because some people don't necessarily like that word, but at the same time, I couldn't think of something strong. So
hmm Um, I mean, if you think about things like Van Gogh, aka Van Gogh, as most Americans pronounce it, he did a lot of work on like cardboard and shit like that because he was poor. I mean, occasionally he would get money from his brother, who's actually Teo's the one who supported him his entire life. He only sold, I think, one piece while he was alive. And now we celebrate all of these works that he did on, reused canvas for the most part and cardboard and stuff like that. And I've played with doing some stuff on, cardboard or just random like little sheets I have. I've even sanded down paintings and painted. Uh, there's a lot of reduce, reuse, recycle, and not necessarily because you want to. Sometimes it's because you have to. But
yeah, whenever I think of Van Gogh now, I think of the episode Doctor Who where they met him. I don't know how familiar you are with that show, but
yes, yes, I remember that. That was awesome.
that episode never fails to make me cry
Aw.
because like I can kind of like connect with that because uh, like I said, I'm not an visual artist, but I would love to see have somebody like take me to the future and show impacts my my work had on people. Assuming it does, which obviously is the goal that I have it written. But to see it do that, that
Mhm.
idea is. Do you feel the same way?
Um, can you say that one more time? Because part of that cut out.
Uh, do you feel like the same way, like that desire to see your work resonate with people?
Oh
Particularly
yeah,
with that episode, like, does that connect with you in the same
yeah. I mean, because all art is about stirring something in someone, whether it's something negative. You want them to be, you want them to feel how you feel about Black Lives Matter, or whether it's something positive about being more confident about your body image issues and stuff like that. You want the viewer to be moved and be excited and to feel something. I think that's the main goal of art, is to make somebody feel something.
way? Yeah,
And the best compliment I got actually about any of my art was I had to leave a show to go to a lecture, and when I came back, this couple had actually left me a written note about how my it wasn't like a show, it was more of like a panel, I forget what you call it, like a conference at a college. And so I had some of my paintings there, and I had this whole series, and it talked about what my work meant. And this couple took the time to write, how it made them feel, and that, I shouldn't stop working, and that they were happy to see my work among all these like science related, STEM presentations. And so things like that keep me going when I'm like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. Fuck it. Maybe I should be doing puppies and rainbows and bullshit.
Yeah. I remember sharing a short story I wrote with somebody, and when they finished it, they told me it made them cry. And I'm like, oh, I made them cry. I made them feel something, and it made me feel like a sadist. But that's also because I'm happy that it made them sad. But at the same time, like I succeeded in conveying an emotion, and I felt good. So
Mhm.
it's kind of weird to like, be happy to make someone feel emotions that you wouldn't want to make somebody feel.
Yeah, yeah. I, I understand that completely.
I feel like in a way, the only like quote unquote failed art is an art that makes someone feel absolutely nothing. Like even if you go into a movie and you hate it and it makes you angry, in a way that that movie still succeeded because it made you feel something. But if you walk out of a movie and you're like, oh, that happened, I feel nothing, I'm just gonna move on with my life. That's a failed movie, in my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily that they would agree because they still got their damn money.
Yeah,
Uh,
movies aren't the best
but
example because it's a very commercialized business to the point. Some might say that someone's dead, which is a different conversation. But as at least as an art
yeah,
form, it fails
yeah,
if it makes you feel nothing.
hmm I agree.
Is there is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or share?
I am not 100% sure. I know I am. I have work in a show at Bay College in Massachusetts, one of the states.
Hmm.
Um, I I've been waiting to talk about it because I was hoping to have like flyers or something with exact to and from dates, and I haven't had that yet. And unfortunately, the woman who's putting it together, she just had I want to say 2 deaths in the family. So that's like not something I'm pushing right now. So I
Yeah,
don't really know
makes
the
sense.
specifics of that. And I don't really have any other shows lined up, unfortunately, for this year yet. So I'm kind of focusing more on developing my skills a little bit more. People could check out my YouTube, and I might be able to tell you what my name is on YouTube in a second.
Yeah, if not, put it in the. I'll put in the link to the video or the audio once it goes up on YouTube. I'll just put all your links down there. So where else can you be found?
I also have a Patreon with no patrons right now. I'm on Instagram as at Artistic Chaos, Tumblr, Pinterest. Obviously, I have my Facebook business page, and I have my own website, artisticchaos.weebly.com. And then I also have another website called CeciliaIV.com, I believe. Yeah, CeciliaIV.com, which is supposed to be my new fancy one that it's too technologically advanced for me. So I update my Weebly because it's easier.
Yeah, it makes sense. So just send me those. Send me those links, and I'll make sure to put those in the description for you, so those who are listening can find you. So if there's nothing else you'd like to add, we can call it a day. It was really nice meeting you. It was really nice talking to you. I
Yeah,
learned
thank you
quite
so
a bit.
much.
Quite as artistically illiterate as I was when I came into this conversation, which was the goal. So I'm recording here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Oh, thank you. You
And,
too.
and good luck to you as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. You too. Good
Thank
luck
you.
in your writing.
Thank you.